I'm like a human bib Fortuna. Hi, welcome back. First things first, we're going to want to get a GitHub account. To do that, you're going to need to go on over to github.com, make an account, and then the first thing you'll see is this desktop page. Probably. Now, they're going to want you to do a tutorial, more than likely, on how to make a repository, but I'm just going to go ahead and show you what it looks like. So when you're on this page, you can go here and create new repository, or you can click this button and it will look like this. You put the name in, description. Usually you'll want to initialize it with a readme, but I've already made one right here. So here's my repository, and you can see I've already been messing with it. So then the next step is you'll need to install Git locally. So let's go through that. You can see I'm already in my desktop development folder. I've made a new folder called Git Test where we're going to mess with our Git stuff. I would advise doing this as well. The next step you're going to do is a git install, and that command will look like this. Now, I'm on a Windows computer, so running this command won't work because sudo is not valid, but on Mac and Linux it'll work. Now, since we're using Git for Windows, you don't need to install it. It's already installed onto this, so you already have access to Git. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to do any Git testing on this in the first place. So just remember, if you're a Mac user or a Linux user, you'll need to do sudo apt install git-all. Now, after you've done that, you're going to need to set up your username and your email. I'll have links in the descriptions as well as text for all this. You'll do this, and then you'll put in your username. Mine would look like this. And then you'll need to do it for your email. Mine would look like this. Cool. Now, let's head back to that repository we made. Mine's already got some stuff in it, but the first thing I'm going to do is go here, go to clone, copy this, and I'm going to use our first command for Git. We will say git clone and then paste that. Okay, so about this, just a brief explanation. When you try and do this, it'll say that you're not connected, more than likely. What you'll need to do is you'll need to go through the steps of initializing an SSH key to put in your GitHub. There's a link in the description to this page. Simply, you will go to this page and follow the steps, putting in these commands exactly as they are in your command line, and this walks you through the process quite well. Once you're done, you'll want to go to navigate to your SSH folder. And I'll show you how to do that real quick here. You can do it from here. You can go cd tilde dot SSH. And when I do ls, you can see you want the pub. So the way you're going to get that ID is you're going to say cat ID rsa dot pub. When you press enter, it'll show that public ID. You're going to want to copy it like this. I'm not going to enter it because I don't want you to see my public ID, but you're going to copy it like this. Then you're going to go to your GitHub, go to settings, SSH GPG keys, and you're going to click new SSH key. You get to this screen, put a name for your computer ideally, and then you're going to paste that SSH key here and click add SSH key. So go ahead and try this again after you've done all that. There's a link in the description to the website that explains how to do all this stuff, and we'll make it easier for you to follow that if this wasn't explicatory enough. So I'm going to navigate back to where I was. ls, and there it is. I've cloned it. After you've done the git clone, this should happen as well. So let's go inside. Now you can see all the files that were on my GitHub are here, but I want to add some files and kind of explain how to do that and how to send them up here. So let's go ahead and make a file. Okay, and we're now going to add this file to a commit. To do that, you're going to say git add, and then you're going to do the text file. Now, you can do this, and I do suggest doing specific files if you don't want to mess with anything else. But you can also do this, and this is kind of the lazy way to do it, git add root. So you just add everything that's in there. I do that when I'm in a hurry and I know that I'm not going to add anything I don't want. But generally speaking, it's better practice to add exactly what you're sending up, so you don't accidentally add something you didn't mean to. Now that we've added this, we're going to do a command called git commit -m. You're going to need the -m because m means message, double quotes, and you're going to enter a message for the commit. So let's talk about commit message etiquette. Ideally, you want to put in the commit what you did and why you did it, so that when people come back to read, or you come back to read why you put this file in, you understand why it's there. Otherwise, you're going to have trouble with this down the road. So I added this in. Added in for YouTube video example of git commit. I could have said added in text file.txt, but since there was only one file added, that commit should be ample enough. But you'll want to explain more specifically. The more detail, generally, the better the commit. So the next thing is, now that you have set up your SSH ID, you should be able to just git push, enter your passphrase, and voila, it is done. Let's refresh and see if it's added. And there it is, text file and our commit message. So let's talk about if you're working on this with someone else. Let's say someone else adds a file to this. So let's create a new file. New file testing. New file fetching. Create new file. I didn't make a commit for it because I don't really care. Anyways, we made this file, and now what we have locally is different from what we have on the GitHub. To update what we have locally, what you're going to do is say git fetch, so you have all the updated stuff, and then you're going to say git merge. And you can see it added one file, and there it is. You did it. If you want to create a repository on your computer and then send it up to your Git, you can Google that. I'm not going to go through that. That's not a beginner thing. It's actually a little complicated, or at the very least difficult for new people to kind of work through. So for now, when you're doing a project, focus on making a repository first, then work on your project in the repository that you have created. Now, if you start on a project and you've already done that, you didn't make a repository, then what I suggest for new people is just move all of the work into a repository you made, make a commit, and push it up to your Git repository so you have it saved there. That's the best I can do for you. I don't want to overwhelm you with too much. I think that covers everything for today. Yeah, let's talk about branches. I'm not going to do an example of a fork, but I will do an example of a branch. So generally speaking, when you're working on a file, you have a master file that you do not edit. So right now, we're on the master file, git branch. So there's the master file. Git branch just shows me what the master files are and shows me what other files I have. So I want to make another file. Now think of these as parallel files. You're not actually going to see them in your folder structure. You're not actually going to see them here when you do ls. This is something that is specifically Git related, and you can only see when you say git branch. So git branch is kind of like your ls for showing all of the different versions of your project that you have. So I don't want to touch my master. I don't ever want to code on my master. I want to make an alternative branch to work on. So I'm going to do that by saying git checkout -b, which means branch, I believe. And we're going to say Brian, just so that we know it's me. This is my branch. This is Ryan's branch. Generally speaking, you might get more complicated with the names depending on what the company you're working for or group you're working for want. But this is how I do my personal projects. So now if we go get branch, not bit branch, get branch, you can see master and that we're on Ryan. So how do I get back to master? No, before I get there actually. On Ryan, I am not actually connected to the repositories. I can connect Ryan to the repository to push up from Ryan, but what I'll want to do is say git checkout master. Sorry, not ls branch. And you can see I'm now a master. So let's do an example of doing some work on Ryan and then putting that work on master and then pushing that work up to the repository. First, let's get on Ryan, git checkout Ryan. Notice I'm not doing -b because we're not creating a new branch. We're just going. We're just checking out the new branch. Oh, git checkout. Oops. Checkout Ryan. So now, this is another important one I forgot about. Git status. So git status, that's what you're going to be using to know what stage you're in your commits, what if you've added something, if you haven't added something, why you can't push. For example, let's add a file. Touch file.txt. All right. I have added a new file. This is on the Ryan branch. If I were to check out the master branch, it'll be there because I didn't commit it. Git status, you'll see that I have an unadded file that could be committed. It needs to be committed. Otherwise, I can't go up when I push it. Or I can't push at all, really. Git push. There's nothing to push. Also, I'm in a branch that can't push. So let's go ahead and add that file. Git status. You can see it's now added. Git commit -m. Added a file on a branch for YouTube. That's you guys. So now, if I could git checkout, I should be able to check out master. And it's not there. Yeah, see, it's not there at all. Because I added it on the Ryan branch, not the master branch. So now that we're on the master branch, we can merge other branches into the branch that we're in. You want to do git merge when you fetch, because it'll automatically merge whatever you've pulled down. But also, this is what you're generally going to be using merge for as well, which is merging your branches into your master. So I'm going to say git merge Ryan. This basically means merge Ryan into the master branch. This is the branch I want in me. All right, so it's merged in. So if I go ls, now it's already committed and everything. The commit was in the Ryan branch, so it just passes over to the master branch. And now I'm going to say git push. And there it is. Okay, so I think that's all I want to cover today. There's a lot you can do with Git, but these are just kind of like the basics of good practices. The more you do it, the more you'll have questions, the more you can just Google those questions and figure out what exactly you need out of Git. But you ideally want to always be using Git for all of your projects. So hopefully this was helpful to you guys. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and I'll see you guys next time with the next step in this, which I think we're moving on to code next time. I'm going to pick a language and we'll see where we go. All right, bye.